Hi, this is Jen Bueller, and welcome to DIY Anyone. Today I have for you some adorable little critters that we're going to start with. When I was literally probably 8 or 9 years old is when I started making this first little treat that you're going to see today. Here are the friends that I'm going to be working with today. All right, so this box that I have that says Craft Mice was literally from when I was a kid. I have saved this thing since then. I showed you this yarn because I'm going to be using this for the second one. So here is the literal opening of this box that since I was a kid, and just seeing what's all in there. Obviously, kind of messy, but you know, like I say, I was probably 8 or 10 years old. So what I'm going to make is a mouse. And this little ornament is an ornament hanger made out of, there's the ears, and I'm pulling out the pieces, and it's made out of a walnut shell. There's the piece of the mouse head that I was working on, and I would just sew that together because guess what? No glue guns back in those days because I'm not exactly, young. And then here are the walnut shells that are the bed for the little mouse. I'm telling you, this is the cutest thing. And you can make this with your kids. They will love it. And what I'm adding today that I haven't made before, since we have such a gnome craze, is I challenged myself to make a little gnome for this too. All right, so here's the little mouse, and I sewed the little beads on his eyes and a bead on his nose. There's his little bed, and there's his tail. And the tail hangs out of the bed. So if you think about anything you'd like to make for this, all you'd have to do is figure out what kind of head you want to make, figure out if it's an animal that you make, what would you hang out of the bottom of the bed. And then we go with the tail. Hot glue that baby in. And then it didn't want to sit flat. It was hanging out kind of weird, so I did put a little dot of glue underneath on the walnut shell outside of where the tail is, just to glue that down. And there you go. So then we'll just glue this together. And then the only other thing you want to do before you put that bed in is how are you going to hang it. Now I have this red ribbon again, ribbon, excuse me, again from the original mice that I made. And you can see too that you could use anything for this little bed. The calico print that I used was perfect because then each little mouse bed was a different little part of the diagonal. The diamond shaped fabric that you see on the left in the lid of the box. So I just tie a shoestring bow, and then what we're going to do is cut that off to about the length that you want it, and you're going to glue half of it on one side, half on the other side. So it will hang, and use your little tool or your finger protector so you don't hurt your fingers. And now we're going to add the rest of the mouse. There you go. That's the last part. Looks kind of creepy like that, just a tail hanging out. And there's the head going to go in next. And then the bed. And just give it a good old glop of glue. So back when I made these, again, back in the day, no hot glue, so I would just have to use like a ton of Elmer's glue. And these wouldn't hold still. I can remember the head popping out or things happening if I didn't wait and try and do that before. So the little bit is a little piece of cotton ball just sewed up to gather around it. And the piece of fabric is about 2 inches in diameter. I did measure that. Take one apart and measure that for you. So if you can see, how cute is that little mouse in his little bed hanging on your Christmas tree. Isn't he adorable? And especially if your kids can say they made that, how proud are they going to be? Plus, to give to a grandparent, oh my lord, they would melt just as gifts. There you go. There's our little mouse friend. All right, so we're going to go on to making a gnome now, since everybody's so gnome crazy. And that's the reason I showed the yarn at the beginning, because that's just yarn from Dollar Tree. And I wound it around several times. What I'm going to do is use this yarn to make the beard. And I'm only going to end up using a microscopic amount of this yarn. I'm doing this all, on the fly as we go. I had not done this ahead. And so basically just get you some yarn. That's the bottom line. Then hold it by the top. And then what I have there that I'm using is a dog brush. So you could use anything. You could use a hairbrush, a dog brush, whatever, just to make it so it's very easy to make that whiskery effect with your yarn. So you can just see it, just something that has those bristles. Excuse me. And initially, I brushed on this for quite a while. And then I take some black felt, make the feet sticking out for your gnome. And I used the same cloth that I had, but wouldn't that be cute with burlap? If you use a burlap bed, and then you've got his little feet that are sticking out. And then we're gonna have his beard. Now the next thing that I'm gonna make is his cap. And I have to apologize, I was kind of out of frame for some of this, but I just took a piece of the same fabric and I made a hem out of it. Just glue something down so you don't have that raw edge around where the top where the cap's gonna go. And I basically just made it into a cone. And with it something so small, because your raw edge is off to the side, it really doesn't matter. So here you go. So here is the cone that I glued down. I'm not sure why it went black there. We couldn't figure out what happened with that, but you didn't miss anything. Anyway, so then the next thing I'm going to do is take some cotton and stuff that little hat. So again, take your cotton ball, take tiny pieces of cotton, and then I just had this little, I don't even know what this is from. This was in my mouth box. And just use it to stuff that cotton into there to make the hat full. So your hat's full. You're going to put it on the top of the bed. I did decide, he needs a pom-pom. And that is a Dollar Tree thing of pom-poms. And I tried the red one. I'm like, nah, too small. Take it off. So I decided to go with the next size up. And we're going to go with the green one. There you go. And then I took also, once that green pom-pom was done, and glued it down so that it stayed kind of at an angle, like the hat was droopy. You'll be able to see that in just a second. And our gnome is almost done. Then you can see the beads that I use for his nose I use just some, you can use any beads you want to use. Obviously, just to keep it to scale is the biggest challenge that I would give you, is to make sure that that nose isn't too big. So, all right, we're gluing the cute little hat in there, in the bed. And then all we have left are his whiskers and his nose, and he's going to be almost done, besides his little hanging piece as well. So when you're doing this whiskery stuff, it takes kind of a bit to figure out, okay, how much long of a beard am I going to have? And I really did kind of fuss with this quite a bit. And just play with it until you've got it how you like it. I'll end up giving that beard quite a haircut. I didn't want it to look like he was like, hanging clear down. I thought that would be weird, and then you couldn't see the little feet. All right, so then we're gluing down that beard. Give it a little haircut. And those are my little Dollar Tree scissors, which I think are adorable. And now we're going to glue the string in there. On either side. And one thing I'd like to point out too about that shoestring bow. So I would let my grandchildren play with these little ornaments, and the first thing that happened was a little bow came out, which shouldn't I have figured that out? So put a little dot of glue where your bow is, if once you get it to kind of how you want it, because honestly, I've tried to retie it, and it was not very easy to retie exactly in the middle like you started with it. So follow my example. Don't follow my example. Put in a dot of glue, and then that will help you. And be ready for just the cutest little gnome. So there's his little feet. And his beard is glued in place. Now we got his little bed in. And now we're adding our hat. There goes her hat. Get that tucked in really well. Glue that baby down. And you have that edge, that nice edge on the cap, so it looks finished. That's really cute. And then, last but not least, his little nose. Glue that baby in. I did get a little bit of glue stuck to the side of his beard, and I just had to cut that away. But seriously, how cute is this? In the little walnut hanging from the tree. I think it's got to be a prize winner for the season, don't you? So have fun making these little gnomes. Just go buy some walnuts, break them in half, and you're good to go. All right, and there's our two little ornaments. Aren't they adorable? I sure hope you enjoy making them as much as I did for many, many years as a child, and now to bring this back. And my grandchildren, my eldest, are actually that age, so we're going to make them together. Okay, now today is part of the Friday Friend Hop with Heidi Sonboul. I'm so thrilled to be part of it, and guess what the giveaway is a Cricut Explore Air 2. It is amazing. And I want you to know that linked down below is the next channel in the hop, and each channel will be linked to the next person, which will take you around the full circle. Be sure to leave a comment along the way to be entered into the giveaway for that new Cricut Explore Air 2. That is a huge, huge value. Okay, what are we going to make next? We are going to make a live greenery centerpiece. I showed you initially while I was talking about the Explore Air 2. I got too excited. Is the piece of Oasis foam. Understand that that is not the stuff that they sell at Dollar Tree. You've got to get the Oasis foam that is for live florals. And what I did was I cut a piece of that off. It comes in that big piece that you can do is in thirds. And you put it in a cup, whatever cup you're going to use. It doesn't matter, just as long as the foam gives you about an inch above the cup itself. And then you've got to drench it with water before you start this process of doing the boughs. Now, what we're going to make is this gorgeous live centerpiece that I've been making these, honestly, for, gosh, over 28 years. And down below in my description box, I'm going to link to you how I did this with the fake greenery. Okay, so there you can see how the water is full in there, and then you push your candle that you're going to use down inside that foam before you start. Now, I'm showing you here the right side and the wrong side of the greenery. You cannot do this with the wrong side up. See how that's light? The other side's dark. That's the right side, wrong side. And it's subtle, but you can see it. One more time. There's the wrong side, and see how that's dark and pretty? That's the right side. So you want that dark side up. Wrong side, and there's the right side. So that's very important. As far as how I cut my pieces into sections, you can see that in my other video too. I break that down into actually cutting the inches of, how many inches to cut it in. Now, here's the key with using live greenery with that foam, is you cannot just take and stick that end of the greenery in without pulling off about an inch to an inch and a half of the needles. Otherwise, it won't go in, it won't stay in, it doesn't look right. That is the whole secret. If you learn nothing else from watching this video, that is the key to remember. And you can see once you pull off those, and I change it to the other side, I'm like, why do I do that? I'm left-handed, and it makes more sense for me to pull it off with my non-dominant hand because I'm using my left hand, sometimes my right hand, to insert the greenery. Now, as you do this, the first thing you want to do is establish I make this. You can see that the greenery itself is an oblong shape. So that's how I make it, to where the longest greenery is on the long side of the actual Oasis foam. Notice too, see how that cup is dry? That greenery has soaked up already that water. And when you finish making this, you're going to want to water your centerpiece over the sink at least once a day, every other day, because it will continue to drink. And I've had these greenery centerpieces for myself I make them, usually I try and get them out right after November after Thanksgiving hits. I get them out to people, and I've had them last until Valentine's Day. They're amazing. They're such a beautiful gift to give to someone. And talk about, taking your time and placing every single piece of greenery. You think, oh my gosh, this takes forever. And honestly, I have gotten to the point where I can knock one of these out in 30 minutes. That includes cutting the greenery. Now, you can see that when I'm progressed in this greenery, that there's just a pile of greenery. And the first bit that I showed, I kind of had divided it into the longer pieces at the bottom, which are about 7 inches. Then the middle pieces, which are 5 to 6, actually 4 to 6 inches. And then the top, I use 2 and 3 inch pieces. And the other thing that makes it, and so this is how I actually do it each year, is that I actually just pull the pieces as I go. I don't stop and separate them, because once you get the bit of it, your eye will tell you. And in my other centerpiece, using the fake greenery, I actually show you exactly how I'm doing it each time. So on the top, and forgive me, the angle's not very good here, but on the top you've got the smaller pieces around the candle, and that's why you put the candle in first, so that you don't have to worry about inserting something afterwards, and you get the scale. There, it's a little bit closer. And so those 2-inch pieces are at the top, and then you just feather your way down, and increasingly add the pieces that are a little bit larger all the way down as you go. But look how gorgeous that is. Now I want you to notice something. If you go to a florist and you get one of these, one thing that they do afterwards is they go back and they cut the tips, and it shows. It looks so horrible, and it doesn't have that natural ending that these have. All right, so now what I've done is I'm working my way around, and also too, in the other thing that I showed you, the other video, I used actually a piece of white foam just to show you how to do this, and believe it or not, you cannot see the foam at all. So you'll just keep putting these pieces in, and I actually use too when I'm doing these, I've made over 100 at a time at the Christmas season, giving them to everybody from teachers to pastors to neighbors to family. It does not matter. Anyway, oh, right there, that's important. Okay, see that little piece that's broken like that and it's not sharp? That will not go in your greenery correctly. It will make a hole, and so you're going to retrim it, pull your piece off, and then reinsert it. That's one little extra tip too to teach you. All right, we're almost there. So again, I'm just looking for the pieces that will taper from my longest to my shortest up at the top. And again, don't forget to pull off that 1 inch of the greenery. You see, each time I insert that, it's empty. All right, it's bare. Okay, there's that one little spot we have left to do. Now, here's my guidance to you. You're thinking, how much greenery will I need? And the other thing I didn't say, oh my Lord, the other most important thing is this is Douglas fir. And as I was cutting, if you'll go back and if you'll watch the area where I was cutting the greenery, see how it's all wiggly? You don't want to buy greenery that is not got that nice, soft, pliable bit to it, or it will not lay nice like this. I've had times when I've had what looked like the Douglas fir, but it was more like a blue spruce type, and it didn't lay like this, and it was horrible. It didn't have that nice flowy bit to it. And you can see too when you go back and watch when I'm cutting this, the pieces, how they wiggle. Even as I'm holding this, as they wiggle, it has to wiggle or it doesn't work. All right, here we go. There's the final there of that, and the candle's a little wiggly because I kept messing with it. It won't do that in real life. Plus, I generally use a 12-inch candle. I use the one at Dollar Tree because it was what I had handy, and it was a 10-inch, and it doesn't have quite the scale or the I guess the nice look, or nor will it burn as long as the others. Now, do not leave this unattended to burn it. This is meant to be just something beautiful to use at your dinner table or whenever you want to use it, but don't leave it unattended because the greenery could catch fire. That'd be bad. Now, I have shown how to do this bow several times, And it's in my last video. I took lots of time to do it, but I didn't want to spend that time today. But you can go back and watch that other video I've referred to. It's called the Unreal Centerpiece, meaning because the greenery wasn't real. Yeah, my husband's a punster. You'll forgive me, I live in a penitentiary. All right, so then I'm taking these little loops, and that's the secret to make it look like the bow goes, the ribbon goes through the whole piece. And those are those little loops that make it look so cute. And you'll see this bin that I have with the gold, that's only one bin I have. I have a bin of red. I have a bin of silver. I have a bin of multicolor. Because again, I've been doing these for many, many years, and I will always go to Hobby Lobby and Joann's, and I buy all the pieces when they're 50% off. And what's fun is, I have to say, I've never made two centerpieces alike. The only reason I use this gold sparkly stuff, again, it was the first ribbon I grabbed. One thing that's kind of fun to do is to put a little thing at the center by the candle as kind of just an extra little added attraction. And, you know, I know this is very sparkly. I know a lot of you girls don't do glitter, so pick something that doesn't have glitter. But let me tell you, in the candlelight, when it has that little bit of glow, the glittery stuff really does look pretty, and it doesn't look gaudy. It looks so classy. So again, use whatever you want to use. I've used all kinds of different things here. Those cute little snowflakes at Dollar Tree. And then they have the balls at Dollar Tree too. Just stick a piece of wire at the end, and then you've got it. And I just put those different places. And honestly, people have given me back the pieces to the centerpiece at the end of the season, and I've reused it over and over again as well. All right, there you go. There's your final view. And isn't that something that you'd be pleased to hand to someone? All right, there's your beauty shot. And isn't it gorgeous? I did put some little lights in it for fun. Now, the last thing that I'm going to show you is a lantern. Now, this is a black IKEA lantern, and look how cute it turned out. You can see it started black. Oh, hi Maverick, hi Penny. They're going to be in the show. Yeah, they're smiling and wagging their tails for you. Anyway, sprayed it with the red paint. Hi guys. Yeah, they wanted to say hi. They're saying Merry Christmas early. And then let this dry. And then I just distressed it with sandpaper until I thought it looked good. And I started it upside down, because then you start upside down, you hit all the spots. And then just sand it off to how you want it. And it takes that gloss off of it, and then you can get down to the black underneath really easily. And that made it really, really look cool. And so just keep sanding it till it's how you want it. Especially pay attention to those areas where the little venting is. That's really pretty to make that look that way as well. And just sand it to how you like. And we're going to show you in a second what it's going to look like. Oh, that's the candle from a Dollar Tree. The little thing I end up putting in the center. And there it is with some little pine trees in it. All right, enjoy this friend hop. I sure hope you'll consider subscribing and come to visit me. And I've so enjoyed showing you these little things that I've done for many Christmases. And I hope that you'll enjoy doing the same. Send me questions in the description box below or in the comments if you have anything, and be sure and comment on each thing going around. Bye-bye. Hi, this is Jen Bueller with DIY Anyone, and I'm so excited to participate today in October's challenge with Sonia at Domestic Diva DIY. And I have for you my Wicked Wreath. What you see in the upper corner is the purple and orange Wicked Wayfair wreath. That is $155.99. And so I'm going to create one with Dollar Tree supplies for about $14. Now, I show you purple, white, and black deco mesh. I used all but 2 rolls of these, and and it didn't use 1 roll of purple and a roll of black. Now I have the pipe cleaners all the way around here. I ended up changing out how to do this. I have to tell you, this is my first deco mesh I have ever made. So I thought I might need these, and I honestly was better off to add them at the beginning than to add them later on. It's easier to take them off than to add them. So what I started with were white and purple mesh, white and black mesh, black and purple mesh, and then some plain mesh. And what I end up doing here is taking the little trios, I rolled them all, they were 6 inches wide, I cut them 10 inches long, and I did 2 curls on either end and then crunched them together in the center. And there's about 1 million deco mesh videos to watch, but so mainly we're looking at this one for the design as opposed to the assembly pattern. But any questions, please ask. So anyway, I alternated such that I ended up with groupings of white patterned throughout, and that's what I wanted to do, kind of create that separation. So I just kind of created it to look good to my eye, and then we'll keep going around here. What I end up using those deco mesh in the center ring, I use those because I add some of the bat ribbon from Dollar Tree and the plain black sparkly ribbon from Dollar Tree to add some pattern in the center there. All right, so now I'm down to the very end, and you can see, so I've got the purple and white, and then the black and white, and you can see to the left where there's just the plain 3 white ones in the center. So I just added 1 to each side of that, and that ended up to be the pattern to get that white where it wasn't too much, but just enough to create that differentiation in almost like a vertical stripe type pattern. And then what we'll be doing next here is here's the general picture. Now you can see with this deco mesh, granted, it's not the most expensive, and you can see that there's a lot of odd threads and things that hang, especially with the way the light's hitting it, and just trim those away. But honestly, for as inexpensive as the mesh is, it was really pretty and very easy to work with. All right, so then I had the Wicked piece that came from Dollar Tree, and I decided to paint it green, and you can see the texture on it. So the green is with puffy paint, then the silver broom handle is puffy paint, the gold moon, and then the black hat, all puffy paint. You can get them for $1 a bottle at Walmart. Then I just took some raffia, glued that to the bottom for the witch's broom part, put a little piece of raffia around the center. You can see where I made it look like it was gathered, but then I did have extra pieces underneath just to fill it out, and that was the Wicked piece. Now for that patterned the puffy paint to dry, so be sure and give it plenty of time so you don't drag your hand through it and mess it up. And you can kind of see the pattern that adds, and it really is neat with the light. So then we're going to add that to the bottom center of the wreath, and I ended up actually just hot gluing that on. It just really did fine. Again, since that deco mesh has such big holes in it, be careful that you don't burn your fingers off, because you could. Use your little cute spatula from the Dollar Tree, the makeup spatula, you know what you're supposed to slather on your makeup with, to hold that hot glue on, and that will hold that in place. Then see the bat pieces that are around the top, and some in the center of the bat pieces. You can see the black balls that I used. I used that to set it off. Then I just did a simple Dollar Tree ribbon in the center, at the top center, and that wasn't fluffed very well. I did talk to my husband about that. You know, the photographer has to fluff. If the artist isn't there to fluff, the photographer has to fluff. So then there's one more view at the Wicked, and you can see actually if you look at the Wicked sign, a little bit of light green that I used on the left borders to make it show and pop just a little bit. So there's our comparison. Come back and see me again. Love to have you. Subscribe. Hit thumbs up, and then go see the rest of the neat folks on the playlist. So, $14. There you go, baby. Thank you. Bye. Hi, welcome to DIY Anyone. This is Jen Bueller, and I'm so glad to have you back. And what we're going to see today is, in my last video, I showed the little throwback ornaments from the mouse that I cannot believe how many of you guys used to do those walnuts when you were kids. So in interest for my granddaughter who loves llamas, I did my best attempt to make a llama here. Now you could call it several different things, several different animals. I don't know that I really captured the llama look. I had a tough time figuring out what to do with the ears. And, you know, I think pinching it together and trying to make it look like a horse ear is what I saw when I look at a llama. But, you know, maybe you guys can give me some ideas of what you would do differently. And then I just embroidered the eyes, and I embroidered the nose. And what that body is made of, that bumpy stuff, is the sock. Now, the legs, I did not have any footage of this. I thought I communicated to get some footage. But what I have is a piece of the elastic part of the sock for the legs. And I just put that around a chenille stem, so that way I can bend those legs how I want to bend them. And then I tried to do some embroidery on the end of the feet, and that was just not only a pain in the neck, but it just didn't turn out how I wanted it to look. So I actually used a black Sharpie on the feet, and that actually I think turned out really cute. And what's so fun is once you get those glued in there, the kids and grandkids can have a great time with just reshaping the legs and put them different directions. You know, you have to be careful with it, but the chenille stem inside of there really does allow for that to be placed a bunch of different directions. And then again, if you didn't see the other video, it'll be linked down below. But then what you do is then the bed itself is a cotton ball with a 2-inch circle that you just sew the edges of it, or sew the edges around to make it gather up. And then initially, when I was going to put this in with just the head and not the legs, it was so unbalanced it didn't hang right. So I had put some of those little tiny little rock things under the bed so that it would have some weight at the feet. And then once I added the legs, it didn't seem to need it. But just throwing that in there if you have any problems with balance, that you can throw some little tiny baby rocks or those little shiny gem things. I cannot think of the name of them, I'm sorry. Anyway, you could throw those in the bottom of the shell underneath the bed, and that could give you some weight to make it where if the head is too heavy, that would help you still accomplish the look of letting it hang cute. But isn't that cute? So there's the little llama, fa la 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 llama, hanging from, again, the cute little ribbon, and he actually does hang fairly even. And yeah, there you can see he actually hangs fairly nice. And remember to put that dot of glue on the bow at the top of the ribbon so that if somebody pulls on it, it won't be difficult to retie. All right, so on to our next project. So everybody has had such a fit with these calendars from Dollar Tree, and I agree, they're adorable. So I saw Annalie Ashby, who is one of my favorite crafters, and she is one of the nicest gals that has helped me so much being new on YouTube. And so I saw a version of what she did, and I linked this below in the box. And her version did involve using some tools, and I thought, well, I use tools and I could recreate what she did, but I thought, well, let's see if we can do another version just for fun. So I took the cardboard, and the secret to this one, you really need that thin cardboard that's in that piece of the calendar already. It's like super thin cardboard to make this work for this craft. If you did a thicker cardboard, because you can replace these sheets and use different, you know, not just the Halloween or the Thanksgiving, Halloween, whatever, and the Peace on Earth. You can use all different kinds of ones, which I intend on doing, but finding that cardboard is going to be the trick, that very, very thin cardboard. Now, one thing I did not do on this, and I did it after the fact, and I don't know that you'll be able to see it, but when I go to slide this calendar piece inside the frame that I'm going to make, it wants to snag. Just, you know, one little bit. And this paper from the calendar, again, it is so super thin that what I ended up doing is going back with Scotch tape. Okay, let me back up. Let me forget that for a second. So I taped all these together, and then I sawed them all. These are 9-inch pieces, and I needed 4 because I'm making a back to the frame and a front. And then these are 4 12-inch pieces. And these are the heavy duty, there it says 12.5 inches. Sorry. Actually, I'm not sure if it's 12.5 because of the fact that the ruler might not have been even. I'll double check that. If it's different, I'll let you know. Anyway, so what we're doing here is we're making a gap. We're creating a gap with these popsicle sticks so that when I put the 2 pieces of the identical frame together, front to, you know, so I have 2 pretty sides sticking out, then I'll have that popsicle stick is enough of a gap to create a little pocket that I can slide that piece of calendar through. And so I did my wood glue, and then for the long hold, and wood glue really is the best thing, but I wanted a quick hold, so I put hot glue in between the dots of wood glue. All right, and so realize you're only doing the popsicle on 3 sides to create that pocket at the top to slide your calendar piece on through. And so that's the 3rd side, so you can see I've got on the 3 sides. Excuse me. All right, so then what I did is I painted that with elephant, and then I distressed it with mineral. And I'm sorry that I didn't show the paint thing. I usually do that. The reason I'm painting the sides there is because you are creating a gap. You could see the yellow popsicles color. And if you were really, AR about this, you could put other popsicle sticks to make it where you didn't have as much of a gap on the sides. But honestly, I don't think it shows. I think the calendar is so pretty, it doesn't matter. Also, be sure and put the side with the measurements to the inside of the calendar. All right, so now I glued the one piece together, and now the other side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to now staple this on there. Give that plenty of time to dry. And what I'm just using the staple gun, and I used for these big sticks, I used the half-inch staples. And realize, staple on the very edge where your popsicle sticks are, because again, that's how you create that groove for that piece of paper to slide down through. And then just staple on the 3 sides. All right, so now I'm going to slide this in, and you can see that has the tape on it on the edge. You can barely see it, but it's there. So then this will slide down through. And on the first time here, I did not get it down in the pocket below, so it's not centered as well. But you can see that actually that was before I taped it. I take that back. And then I realized, oh, we need to add something to that, because every time you pull this in and out, you don't want to have it being tearing, because you want this to last for a while. So what I did was I did the tape, and then you can see once I pushed it down in the groove that the pumpkin becomes completely centered. Now I'm just tying a shoestring bow for this and then dovetailing the ends. And then what I'm going to do is put some Velcro on each side. So you put the 2 pieces of Velcro on the frame identically, and then the opposite piece will go on the bow. And that's how you can then, when you flip the calendar around, you use the different kind of the other, like say the opposite sort of the Velcro, and then you just pop your bow off, turn it around, and then you have a bow for the other side. So consider that when you're doing that. Or you could make a bunch of different bows. Normally that's probably what I would do, is I would make something different because I like doing that. But I certainly like this neutral bow as well. And then so you can turn it over, peel off your bow. And that actually stuck pretty well. I did not have any other, I didn't do any other hot glue on that. But if you had problems with it sticking, your Velcro sticking, you could very easily just hot glue that on. But see, the back side, you've got the one piece, and then flip around, and there's your bow. Now, I was trying to decide if I wanted to add little hangers to this or not. And you could add hangers to one side, but I opted to do this. This is actually aspen wood from a tree in our yard, and that white colored bark looks so pretty that I thought, well, let's give it a try. And here's a final shot. And like I say, you can add whatever color or whatever calendar you want in there, and that makes it really versatile. All right, now we're on to the last craft for the day, and the inspiration for this came from the fact that I'd seen this gray deco, kind of grayish. It's not really silver, but it's more gray looking. And that was my inspiration. And by the way, I want to thank Elena Jenkins and her co-host Dandy Soap DIY for hosting this inspiration, the inspiration challenge. And the goal was, what are we inspired by? And I saw this. I haven't made very many of these deco bows. Sorry, not bows. Wreaths, that thing. And so I thought, I'm going to give this a try. So I did the puffy all around, and they were 6-inch loops. And then you see off to the side, I took 6-inch pieces and curled them up, and I did 2 of them, tied then I had a little bit longer piece of the chenille stem that I used to tie them together, and then you can see I'm tying them underneath just to kind of fill up the area around that puffy. So I'm using the two techniques. So the puff that I did was all one piece, and then, oops, I'm not sure what happened there. And then the, sorry, little pause. Then that other piece is just, like I say, 6-inch pieces, 2 of them curled together, and then use the chenille stem to tie them to the frame. And that's a Dollar Tree frame. So you can see how that nicely filled in between the 2 areas of the puff, okay? And you can kind of just see where you kind of pull it apart and if it doesn't look as full as you want, and just do it to what your eye likes. You know, if it's too much, you just like the puffs, then you can totally pull those puffs apart, because I used 2 strands of the deco mesh, and I believe I used probably 5 or 6 rolls of this gray color that they had at the Dollar Tree. So that's $6 plus the frame, $7. And then I'm going to use some other Dollar Tree ornaments. $6, $7, $8. It's no more than $10 I have in this wreath. Now, so I'm going back afterwards and I'm pulling these 2 layers of the puff apart just to kind of see, okay, is it as full as I want it? You can see the inner bit of that deco mesh that really sticks up nice, and it can fill in the center. And you know, I see so many of these people that make these beautiful wreaths that sell them professionally do really fill in the center, and there's not a whole lot of the center that is shown. And you can, again, what do you like? Do what you like, and that's the nice thing about it. All right, so I'm going to take some of this pitberry that I got from Dollar Tree, and we're going to use that just to kind of decorate around the wreath, just to add a little extra depth. And then I'm also going to add these lights. So I had the fairy lights from Dollar Tree, and what I did was, I have the lights all unwound. And so just kind of was measuring to see, all right, how far will they go? And they would go nicely all the way around the wreath. So before I'm adding those lights and the pitberries, which I'm going to wire those together, I saw some of this tulle that I thought was pretty, and it had a little bit of a design on it. I don't know that I showed that, but I think actually I'm using like the silver and the white, and then I'm just making it have a little extra depth and color. And so I'm going to wrap that down to the bottom area, that outside ring, and then flip it around. So it's kind of like a back forth type motion, just to add, again, a little bit more character. And I think you got to add 2 layers, otherwise it looks too spider webby, and I didn't want it to look spider webby. I don't know, tell me, do you think it looks too spider webby and I shouldn't have done that? Nice thing is that I had enough decoration that it's not something that's really obvious on the top. And then fluff that a bit. And then as you're fluffing, you can be thinking about, okay, what do you want to put on this? And you can see what I've got to the left there is I've got some of the white snowflakes, and those are from Dollar Tree. And then on the right, I have some silver snowflakes. Those are from Dollar Tree. And then I have a bag of the tiny pine cones, and then 2 of the bottle trees that are also from Dollar Tree. So I forgot about the, no, I think I added right. About $10, maybe 11, because I think I did add the lights, but I forgot about the pitberry. So $11 you've got in this. And I dare say it'd probably sell for a whole lot more. So I wired the lights with the pitberry. Or I'm getting ready to. Excuse me, I'm sorry. All right, so I just laid it out to kind of see if I liked it. And then I took the pitberry, wired it together with the lights, and then I'm kind of playing with it to see, okay, is that where I want the lights? Then what's really nice is to be able to take that battery pack and you can wire it to the back. And then if you want to take those lights out, you can. And then also be sure and wire it so that the screw part where you change batteries is to the top. That's why I didn't hot glue it in, so it'd be easy to change if I wanted to. And you've got the chenille stems that are right there that actually 2 of them will wire that in nicely. and yet you still have the ability to turn it off and on very easily. That little battery pack sits, it nestles really nicely between the wires of the wreath itself. So I turn that off, turn it around. All right, so I've got that pitberry and that done. Now, what are we going to do to the outside? And so I'm going to just kind of lay some stuff out here. And this wreath is going to my stepdad. He is in Wyoming, and we don't get to see him very often. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do here, how I'm going to place this stuff. And a lot of times, it's good, you know, don't get glue gun happy. Kind of look at what you're going to do, and always remember, where are you going to put your bow? And I know I'll be shifting this when I realize that I want to put my bow at the top, and that'll show you. It'll show you in a second here. You could also overlap these snowflakes, which I didn't think of at that time. But once we got it all glued on, you can see. So here I put the bottle brushes there, and then I did my ribbon, 3 different types of ribbon, and there it is. And if you want to know how to do anything more, just give me a buzz. Hi, this is Jen Bueller with DIY Anyone. Look at those bloodshot eyeballs. Well, we're going to use those today to make a garland that will be adorable for any season. And you can see just a small hint of it there in the montage. Actually, one of the simplest crafts I think that I've done, and very, very inexpensive. So what you're going to do is you're going to take either ping pong balls or eyeballs. The Dollar Tree at Halloween time has the Halloween eyeballs, which are actually cheaper because there's more of them for the dollar than there are the ping pong balls. I've also found, though, that you can buy 144 ping pong balls for like $12, which ends up to be even cheaper than Dollar Tree. So if you're a sewer, you could of course just sew these 2 seams together, and I'm just showing how, you know, I'm a sewer, but I'm just showing how you can easily glue it together as well, and just make that tube. The key is to check your fabric first, your amount of fabric, so that you don't cut too small of an area and that the balls won't easily slide down into there, into the tube. And I actually had my grandson helping me with this. He loved sliding those little ping pong balls down into the tube. And so you're just going to glue, and I just made it so that there's no raw edge there. You can see that. And then just fold that over. And then you're going to put pieces of twine between. And I hot glued that also. Just watch your fingers because it can get super hot. And that's how wide I did the fabric, was 5 inches for 4.5 for the ping pong, or for the eyeballs. The ping pong balls needed probably closer to 5 inches of diameter, just so you know. And then of course just make the thing as long as you want to make it. Now, when you're joining the pieces of fabric together, the long pieces, what you're going to do is you're going to just glue them together like a seam. And just do probably not more than 1/4 inch, because you don't want to create a lot of bulk in there. And so then I just took this eyeball, and the nice thing is also test your fabric too to see, can you see through the fabric? Can you see the eyeball through there? And you can see, you can't see it. You can't tell there's an eyeball hiding in there. So that's what I was checking and showing you there. So then just slide that through into the pouch or to the tube. And then when you get it down to where you want it, I wanted to have a little bit of space so that they weren't super, super tight. There's the seam that I did just to show you. And it just turns out really nicely. So I bunched up that fabric. Then what the nice thing is to do is make a little divot in that fabric, and then put your dot of glue, put your twine down inside that little divot, so you can use the 2 pieces of fabric to hold it together, and that gets your glue set quickly, and makes a nice way for you to be able to pull around. So then once that's dry, then just twist, twist, twist. And I did about 3 twists on each one of these garland pieces that you can see here. And I also made this out of a gray and white, and my daughter-in-law loved that. She actually put it on her like a swag on the drapery, in front of her drapery curtain, and it looked really cute. So you can use these all seasons, any season, any fabric. It is unlimited, and it is very, very inexpensive. So I just used fabric that I had, and then however many eyeballs you want. Like I say, there's 12 in a package, so you can get pretty far with this. And then once you wrap it around the 3 times, then add that dot of glue, Just watch, because of course it will burn you if you're not careful. I of course get burned all the time. I have mom hands, as they call it in my house. And then you'll pull that rope around the twine, let that sit, and then cut that off and move on to the next one. And I like to cut that twine at an angle, because then it kind of isn't so blunt looking when it sits there. The end of the twine, it kind of tends to nest in there a little bit better. And then I think we're going to do another one here. And I sure appreciate your watching. If you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, or give me any comments. I really am appreciative of anything. I've been with YouTube since the end of August, and it has been an exciting journey, and I've learned so much. So anything that you want to give me that direction, I'd appreciate it. And I believe that we are ready to wrap it up here. Thanks very much. And hang on for the next video. Hi, welcome to DIY Anyone. This is Jen Bueller, and I'm so happy to be bringing you another video. So today, what we're going to do is my video is in part of a collaboration challenge from Christy Creates. She is amazing. And what this is an inspiration piece. I wanted to make something for one of the teachers that I know that's going back into the classroom. So I decided to, that saying was one that she liked, and you'll see it again at the end. So we start with sanding things down, and then I shook the glitter away, so that wasn't going to be part of it. Cutting that jute twine, that was the hanger, which I will save. And you've probably seen this before, but just to make sure, those sticky stickers on the back of those Dollar Tree signs, if you do heat them up, they'll really heat pretty well. And then I'm using a Dollar Tree little putty knife and scraping that away, and it really works pretty well. Just be sure you don't put your finger in front, where if you miss hitting the sticker, that you then lacerate your finger or your thumb. That would be bad. And we got that scraped off, and I cleaned off the other one. Now I'm using Waverly chalk paint in white, and I'm going to paint both of those signs. Now the one thing about these signs is they have a slight bow to them, and the bow creates problems for me later, which you will see, and hopefully you will avoid the problems that I'm going to have here. So we're going to paint this up, and I believe that I did do 2 coats, painted the sides, and now I'm going straight to the Mod Podge. On the back that I avoided showing you are some big popsicle sticks that I used to hold the 2 signs together. So that little, if you look at that where the light's reflecting, is the divot. Now right there is a cool little tool. It's a Mod Podge tool. It's a brayer and like a squeegee all in one, and it is very inexpensive. I've got that in my Amazon store if you'd like to take a look at that. Anyway, so I've got some Hobby Lobby 25-cent paper, and right where that seam is between the 2 boards is what's going to create the problems for me. But boy, I'll tell you what, to get the bubbles out of this, and then you'll see so I'm using the squeegee side after I use the brayer side. The brayer's the roller. Then boy, that made it nice, except that what I didn't see, that you guys can probably see on the camera really well, is that big old bubble that's forming right at the seam between the 2 boards. I apologize, my camera is going into the refocus mode again. I'm learning, and it's every time I move it focuses and unfocuses, so I apologize if that's causing any problems. The last thing I want to do is give you a headache. So I'm cutting this last bit, and then I'm going to fit the last part. Now, here's the mistake that I made. When I found that bubble, what I should have done is pulled the paper up and kind of relayed it into that crack, but I didn't do it. I ended up making it where it was a big old wrinkle, and so we're just going to say that makes it look more weathered. I think that's a good way to call it, because the other thing to not do, see how I tried to push with the brayer, or with the squeegee, excuse me. Don't do that either, because you could tear your paper. I did not tear my paper, I'm glad. But anyway, after that, I'm like, oh, heck with it. I'm just going to iron this baby down and just make that that wrinkle look like it's supposed to be there. So there we go. That's what we did with that. And that's the only reason that I slowed that section down to show you, was to let you see that. So now the rest, I'm going to put on the other pieces here with the Mod Podge. I did not Mod Podge on the top. I think it looks great how it is with just that natural shiplap look. And I am going to use the sign laterally, so you will see that nice those shiplap lines running along horizontal. The next thing I'd like you to see is that I'm using my Mulwark cutter. So it's like an X-Acto knife type brand. Quite honestly, it's beautiful. It's got a ton of different handles and blades, and I'll show you that in just a second. And it cut beautifully. I have to say, I did buy the Dollar Tree one, and in the trash it goes because it was worthless. Sorry, but it was $1 wasted. I think this one is not too expensive, actually. You'll have to take a look at it and see, but it's pretty cool. And it has all those blades that come with it. I think it was like 16 bucks, something like that. Anyway, that's in the Amazon store as well. And the little holder that it has is really nice as well. So that might be something that would help to add to your crafting. All right, so now I am ready to get the frame. So this is old fence that was around our garden, and we replaced that fencing, and my husband just bent the wire to pull out these pickets so that I can then sand them, and that's going to become the frame. So you can see how he just bends that, and then, so if you have an old fence, you don't have to worry about cutting the metal. Just bend it like that, and there you go. So here's the sanded on the right, unsanded on the left, and it did sand up beautifully. So now I've got these laying out. I apologize, I did not show you the mitering part. I do miter the corners. I'm learning what you need to see and what you don't. I did the sign on Cricut, my Cricut machine, and I was just laying it out to see, okay, where will it be with the pieces. Now I've taken off the backing and I'm getting ready to lay that down. And here's where that Mod Podge brayer comes in again. Now granted, there is a burnishing tool if you buy a Cricut that you have, but you know, I already used the Mod Podge. And so I'm like, well, that made a convenient way to burnish the letters down again. And you'll see me use that in just a second. Hi, this is Jen Bueller. Welcome to DIY Anyone. I hope you're having a great day. So today I took a 3 foot, those baby bath pools, and we had one that had a hole in it. And so I'm thinking, all right, well, let's use some trash to create treasure. And I can't wait for you to see what we did. So first thing I'm going to do is you'll see a little bit of the pool itself. It had a hole there in the bottom. And rather than putting it in the landfill, I confess over the years of raising kids, I've thrown more than one in the landfill, but this one didn't go. So I thought, all right, let's cut it out. And those ridges on the side, I kept seeing pumpkin, pumpkin, pumpkin out of it. So I cut the bottom out, and I'll be using that in another DIY. And then you have those ridges on the side. So then I will hang. I had some kind of cute little, it wasn't regular jute twine, but it was a little braided piece of cord that I had, and I'm going to use that as the hanger. So you can see I glued that on the top, and I put a little piece of actually seam binding on the back of that just to hold it on better. And there's it, it's all set and ready to hang up. So there we have the little thing. Now I set it down there initially just to show you that it could be set down, but it will be darling hanging up. And I sure hope you enjoyed this. And again, subscribe if you will, and come on back and see us again. And I hope to be having some more exciting videos for you real soon. Have a great, blessed day. And thanks so much. Bye. Okay, here we go. I am retaping this voiceover for the fall bat wreath that I made. And I compared this to a wreath. The inspiration was from Pottery Barn. And theirs was $59. And mine turned out to be $4. So here we go. And theirs is on the left, mine's on the right. I used one of the wreath forms from Dollar Tree, and it was a 14-inch. And initially, I tried to glue the pieces of the branches that you see on the side. I tried to glue them just directly on, and I believe this is a, oh golly, an elm tree that these were cut from. And they're really skinny little pieces that look just like the bat wreath on the Pottery Barn one. So I'm going to go through all this rigmarole of trying to glue these on there. And because the wreath did not sit flat, which, you know, is great for most wreaths, but for this particular one, it just did not work well. And I ended up putting a ton of glue on there. And you can see here that it's going to stick, but you could see through it. And so then I'm like, all right, fine. Took it all off. And I got some Dollar Tree felt. You can get felt anywhere. They have it everywhere. I'm not sure why my camera strap's in the way on that. Sorry about that. Anyway, so I'm just cutting some strips of black felt, and I'm going to wrap that around the wreath form so that I can then have a better surface on which to glue the pieces of the elm tree. And we're just wrapping, and then glue it onto itself. If you glue it onto the wreath form, you can certainly do that, but then that's something else you have to kick off. And then if I ever want to take this down, I can, or redo it, I should say, then it's easy to just cut the felt right off. And you'd never be able to reuse the felt on this though, because like I say, I can't even tell you how many glue sticks I used on this thing. But honestly, here it is, what, December. This is my 20 for 20 best videos in 2020, not 1920, Jen. Hello. Anyway, and I still have that bat wreath hanging up. I love it. It's so pretty to look at while I'm working. And yeah, anyway. All right, so now we're going to reapply these branches. And I did it actually on the flat side this time. And I'm just trimming it up to make it neat, and then we'll re-glue it. And you can see the key with this is to make that same effect that you had with the Pottery Barn one, is to glue these at an angle. If you glue them straight on, they just don't have the same effect or the same look. But you can see once you kind of start the first ones at an angle, if you start the first ones at an angle, then it's very easy to just follow along. And we're going to do this all the way around the wreath. And just trim out the inside one so it has a nice round shape. I did not trim it perfectly, as you can see. All right, and then what I'm doing here with this star plate is I'm making some bats. And these bats are going to hang. There's a little bat that I got off the internet, and I just put that on a piece of vellum, traced it out and cut it out so that I can use that then on